Third party.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, Kathy Tomlinson from the Globe and Mail recently uncovered a system of speculation and insider trading that is fueling the red-hot condo market in Vancouver and crowding out ordinary buyers. A few select realtors and industry insiders are getting preferential access to new condos under construction, and some individuals are flipping the right to purchase these condos multiple times prior to anyone actually moving in, a process that artificially drives up the prices for the eventual homeowner. Honourable Speaker, industry insiders and speculators shouldn't be granted preferential bidding rights on new condo units. Ordinary British Columbians and young families trying to get their foot in the door should have the same access. So my question, Honourable Speaker, through you to the Minister of Finance is this: what is your ministry doing to end this egregious practice and to stop the preferential treatment of industry insiders over regular British Columbians, and will you end preferential treatment and require the developers market their condo developments at the same time, at the same price to everyone?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the Leader of the Third Party for the question, and thank you for pointing out one more area that has to be addressed in the housing crisis that we are facing in British Columbia. I'm sure the member, as we all do in this House, hear the stories, the heartbreaking stories every single day of people trying to get into the market, and then to hear about this kind of action, the insider flipping of pre-sale condos, is very troubling. It's very troubling, I'm sure, to everyone. It's certainly troubling that legacy has been left, and it is something we are taking action on. So we have regulatory authorities right now investigating those reports. The member can be assured that this is a top priority for our government. We're also taking action to actually clean up this mess. I think one of the things, and I've mentioned this before, one of the real challenges is that the old government collected no information, so there is very little information to be able to take a look and get to the investigation piece. So we are doing that. We are taking action to actually require information on pre-sale condos, on flipping of condos, to be gathered by developers. It'll shine a light on this sector. It'll ensure that we can share that information then with the tax authorities so that people are paying their fair share of taxes. And then the one other piece I just want to mention to the member is that we've also initiated a review of the real estate regulatory system to also ensure a level playing field. There was a system left to us by the old government. They put a structure in place that clearly needs some work. There are questions raised about who has what authority, where that authority sits. So we're going to be looking at the roles, the responsibilities, clarifying the issue of education to ensure consumer protection, which is the primary issue in this example and so many other examples in the housing crisis.
Leader, Third Party on a supplemental.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you to the Minister for that very constructive response. As the Minister knows, much of the dubious behaviour in the real estate sector has taken place in the overheated Vancouver real estate market. I think we can all agree that it's essential to put in place new rules to end these abuses and to protect consumers, and I'm thankful that the Minister is taking steps in this regard. Yet, Honourable Speaker, it's also crucial that any new rules don't impact businesses and communities in smaller communities across British Columbia. Scores of realtors and brokers from smaller communities across rural BC have contacted me with very serious concerns about the government's plan to ban limited dual agency transactions. In many small towns and rural regions, the new rule may be unworkable for small businesses. It will have a profound negative impact on consumers as well. I'm worried, Honourable Speaker, frankly, that this government inherited a sledgehammer response to reform from the BC Liberals that could have serious unintended consequences for realtors and consumers in rural BC. My question, Honourable Speaker, through you to the Minister of Finance is this: will the Minister consider delaying the implementation of the ban on limited dual agency to enable a task force to review the effects of the proposed changes on small communities and to provide a way forward that protects consumers and doesn't harm people in rural BC?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you for the question, and thank you for raising the issue that I've certainly heard the concerns directly, but I know members on all sides of this House have heard those concerns in their communities as well, and heard concerns from realtors. Just to be clear, the Office of the Superintendent is an independent regulator, and as the member said, they've introduced new rules banning dual agency designed to protect the public that are effective June 1st. I've, as I said, certainly heard those concerns. I've met with the superintendent, I've met with the real estate board to raise those concerns, to make sure that they are well aware of them. We want to make sure that the regulators are working as effectively as possible. As I mentioned, we're also doing a review of the regulators themselves. But my expectations are clear. Consumers have to be protected. and all consumers should have the right to representation, whether they live in rural BC or whether they live in urban BC, whether they live in a small community or whether they live in a large community. I've made that very clear to the superintendent and to the real estate board.